Hello, everybody, and good evening. Thanks for coming in and checking out some little spooky stuff with my co-host Kenny and I from Star Fox Radio. And we'll give some quick shout outs as people start to slide in and get ready to give Kenny and I a portion of your evening, which we greatly appreciate. So we've got Tommy's in the house. Standing Stone is taking part. Hey, Cairo, how we doing? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate your time. We got the Things Network. Hello and welcome. Simple Spooky Network. Who else is hanging out? Cairo Standing and everything. So far that's who's here. I'm sure there'll be more along the way, and we'll give you a wave or a shout out as you come in. And hello, Kenny, my friend, my brother. How we doing?
I am pretty good, man. Tired, a little bit busy, but it's all rolling with the steam, man. What about yourself?
I'm doing good. Excited about tonight. Tonight's a little different than we've done before. So um, things are good. And for everybody who knows about my puppy Bear, he had his checkup and he's unfortunately way too busy of a dog. And I got scolded for letting him hop and bounce. So he'll be toning down while we're doing the show tonight. And thanks for the well wishes, by the way. But how about Kenny?
Of course.
How's everything going? And
You're multitasking right now,
with the dog man world?
man. Well, a ton of interesting stuff, but at the moment, I am linking up with you while watching the Bruins game, while doing some artwork and updating my iPhone and updating my art tablet while drinking some of the Lost Souls and some V8 juice, man. How about you?
I'm just having trouble multitasking, reading chat, and talking in general. So, but what have we got what do we have on tap for tonight? I'll let you
Well,
talk.
we have
Your
some pretty
idea.
interesting stuff. I mean, it's our idea. Come on now, man. I'm just playing. But I'm a very scientific based individual. Just my swag, always going to be that way. And, as stated, I always keep my mind open, always willing to change my thought process, etc. But 32, I would actually really enjoy sitting down with this man at one point in time and speaking to him because he is brilliant, great content, same thing, scientific mind, and always talks about things that have facts and clarity. If he doesn't have an explanation, he doesn't have an explanation, but very cut and dry and scientific based. I love it. So he actually had broken this down, and I had heard it a little bit through the mind. Yet, as always stated, I don't go out of my way to purposely document anything besides in my brain when it's not, related to the missing people and what's going on with, the dogman phenomenon, etc. But before I go to bed every night, and in general, I love learning, so I just put things on and listen. And I was listening to this and watching, and it's pretty interesting stuff because you have somebody who's a prominent person in the musical world and also, in his communities that supposedly did some questionable things to gain his success. And well, if anyone has ever seen the show Supernatural and know they're not giving me anything to give them a shout out, they just do a great job to portray things. Well, there is a crossroads where they do an episode basically based off of what we're speaking about at the moment. And in this episode, this musician goes to this crossroad and ends up summoning this entity, more or less. And it doesn't have to be the crispy man, it can be other people. But, well, this is a show, right? Okay, now we're pulling back into, reality. We have Bob Dylan, who is a pretty straightforward dude, and no one's ever come out beside him. saying that he's trolling or joking, and he's never really cracked a smile, nothing. No sort of humor about when he mentions this. And before I finish saying that, there's other people in the past as well, prominent blues players and such, same thing, just came out of nowhere that were unbelievable, but they weren't really considered to be talented like that previous to what had been occurring. They were just, average at what they were doing, and that was at best. Well, these individuals all of a sudden became unbelievable blues players. Well, now you have Bob Dylan. All right, same thing. Bob Dylan was an individual that apparently, according to all his friends and such, he was okay. He wasn't the Bob Dylan we all know now, and they still are baffled as to how he became this great when in actuality he was pretty average at best, meaning in his ventures throughout playing music, well, he used to just go to his friends' parties and no one would listen because he was terrible, they said. And then he would go to other local people's gatherings, same thing. But then he just goes to New York for like a month or so and then comes back and invites all his friends up there. And now all of a sudden, Bob Dylan is playing this extravagant music and he's up on stage with all these famous and talented people, and all his friends are like, what the heck? This does not seem anything like the Bob Dylan we know. And how the heck did this guy end up coming through at this point in time and being so successful like this? And even his friends said just his more or less demeanor changed about him, and also he would look like a man possessed when he was performing. That doesn't mean he's a man possessed just because someone is getting into their art. But what the heck is Bob Dylan talking about this for? And he still talks about it. He was asked why he's still performing, why he's still on tour, why he's still, putting all this effort into music. They're like, you have everything. And he says the same thing he's mentioned numerous times. I still need to fulfill my portion of the contract. Well, last time I checked, a contract would be if you were signed by a record label, yet Bob Dylan is his own record label, so there's no contract. He doesn't play for a sports team or anything. Okay, so what's next in line with this contract? Well, if you look up contract, there's references meaning supposedly selling your soul to do, deranged things and gain power. Pretty interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, what price are you willing to, we know everything has a price, so what prices are you willing to pay for fame? If Bob Dylan's up there, and to disappear for a month and then come back and be, who'd he study under? Where did that come from?
Good question. Yes, I'm not too sure. I don't know if 32, like you said, there's other parts where he dives in more. I just was listening enough where I was gathering the broad gist of it because, like I said, I had heard previous references to this, and I had seen Supernatural make a reference to it as well. So it's bizarre stuff, man. And when you do a little bit of research into it, it does make you, wonder a little bit, because when you have athletes and stuff, okay, well, they're gifted. It's proven that some people are born with better genetics than others. Okay, but when it comes to, I don't know, somebody like a musician and such, there are millions and trillions of beautifully talented musicians and artists and such out there. Sure, again, drunk of the law. I don't know necessarily if I believe or not believe in that. Coincidence, I don't believe in that. Yes, work ethic and such. Sure, there's probably so many people that had just busted their butt cheeks and had to, give up personal lives and such to become successful. But then you have these other people that are just on like a whole other level of how did you get there? And I'm not saying hard work doesn't get you there, because like I said, I'm a scientific individual. I'm not supporting, anything here saying that people suck or such. I don't know. Don't have any sort of evidence to stand by that. I'm just presenting facts that this man and others speak about. So it's odd stuff.
Yeah, and scientifically speaking, what are the odds that somebody who's average can disappear for 30 days and come back a totally different musician? I mean, 30
You
days
tell me,
isn't a
man,
lot.
right? I mean, I invest. No, in 30 days, what do I learn? A lot. But in 30 days, did I just miraculously become a great content creator. I'm not even saying I'm great now. I'm just using this as a reference. And no, of course not. I mean, I've been working on creating content and videography and imagery for, 15 years, man. Okay. I still need improvements all the time and such. And I knew, when I was acting and modeling early, famous people for the areas and such. And one of my friends was a Playboy model, and she was on Howard Stern all the time. And I'm not saying any of that stuff's cool or whatever. And I don't Howard Stern. I'm just showing that I saw all that type of stuff, but she didn't even, ever make it, man. I mean, she made it enough where she was doing stuff like that. But last time I checked, she's not traveling the world, and she never really kind of made it to the stature that she wanted to, man. She wanted to be like a Marilyn Monroe, and, etc., whatever, same kind of, I guess, ambitions I had either way when I was younger. But point of that is, well, I mean, she looked like Paris Hilton. So whether people think Paris Hilton's attractive, again, that's not the point of what I'm referencing. Okay. But yeah, man, I mean, I thought she was beautiful. So did others. And, she, like, what, again, made other people be able to become more successful than her. And they didn't, in my opinion, have anything that she didn't have. So again, luck of the draw, coincidence, or strange, man.
Yeah, what separates those individuals, and it was looking into, contracts, the, with people selling their souls to the man. I looked a little bit into it, and supposedly one of the earliest ones, they've been around as long as people themselves, apparently, and at one point, the earliest one is back from the 6th century, and it was by a archbishop, believe it or not, who wanted to who got offered the job and hired as deacon, but didn't feel he was that good enough for the job. So he stepped down. Well, the new deacon comes in, or bishop, and removes him completely from the church. So he gets mad, renounces his, makes a deal with the man, and his contract was to renounce Jesus and renounce Mother Mary. And in return, he would get the job back. Well, as a little time passes, he feels bad about this. So he starts praying to God for forgiveness and fasting for forgiveness, and wakes up one morning with the contract that he signed in his own blood on his chest. So he takes that contract to the bishop, and, apparently Lucifer likes to abide by paperwork. Bishop throws it in the fire, just burns the contract up, and the St. Theophilus gets so happy that he feels like he's free that he actually passes away from a heart attack that night.
Interesting stuff. And the thing with, I try never to really talk religion and stuff because I feel like it is a sensitive subject. And of course, I'm spiritual. I've already mentioned this before. But I guess what I want to touch on is just the perspective aspect. Meaning, for example, you have spoken about it before. So when you hear like 666, that is not the mark of the beast out of any area besides like Christianity and a few others and other aspects. It's just another numerical thing that has nothing to do with demons and such. And same thing with the word abomination that was created by, Christianity to describe things they didn't fully understand. Meaning if they saw some sort of night moth, that's an abomination. It has to be demonic. So the thing is, it's perspective. And I was introduced in, because again, I'm spiritual, so I don't know about, know about these things until Dennis Carroll, our occult specialist and historian, and other people gear me in the proper direction. Yet when it comes to, I guess, heaven or hell, I'm going to keep this as vague as possible, where I'm just trying to present information. And I'm not saying I believe any of this because, again, I'm spiritual. This has nothing to do with except just a presentation. So in different references, okay, when you think of, heaven and hell, well, you think of the depiction that is usually supplied to people. But in other variants, the devil actually isn't this figure that is totally destructive. It's odd. He's a figure that supports the things that basically are sins, but are just behaviorisms, meaning it's so strange. So again, I don't want to really talk about this, but I'm trying to just show a little bit. When it comes to things such as, I don't know, piercings and hair coverings and such, well, again, there's your abomination. You're immediately going to be looked upon as demonic. Okay, hey, I'm an actor model. I dye my hair. I think vampires things are cool. I don't worship the devil, but because of that, because I wear red eye contacts sometimes, people think I'm demonic. Okay, no, not whatsoever. Like, how can you be demonic if you don't believe in something necessarily, or heaven or hell? Correct? Okay. Besides the point. So what I'm again trying to say is, from one perspective, that's considered demonic. From another perspective, that's considered expressing yourself in some sort of freedoms. So on one side, having sex outside of a marriage is considered a sin. On one other side, that's considered something that you should be allowed to do. So it's very odd how certain depictions depict one side as fully good, but then on other sides, the evil side's not really necessarily evil. And then one side depicts the evil as the good side, and then the good as the evil. So you have like three different perspectives on it. And I just find that fascinating, more or less. I hope I described that without offending anybody.
Yeah, it's always a touchy subject. And when we were talking about, people that sell their souls, obviously we're going to have to touch a little bit on it, but keep it as
That's
vague
what
as
I was saying. That's all.
possible.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
We
Exactly.
both have
So
our beliefs, and they're ours. And like I said, we won't try to push that on anybody, at least. So, Lori
from like the
said,
perspective of like, yeah, when he sold his soul, was it for good, or because again, when I check Bob Dylan's record, he's never done anything bad. He does a ton of things for communities, for people and stuff. Seems like a pretty good dude. And but if he sold his soul for such and to become successful and all that, it would make you wonder, wouldn't he then become corrupt and terrible? I mean, why would he keep a pureness about him? Again, if the devil and all that, correct, right? I'm pretty sure they don't care about kids and things. So why is this man who supposedly sold his soul still doing such beautiful things for people? It's just interesting, man.
oh, yeah. And, there's other artists, like you said, there's some blue artists, and I did see a mention earlier about one of them, and I couldn't remember the guy's name. So let me find it real quick. But this was supposed to be a pretty famous case of that. Standing Stone, 1776, the song Crossroads by Robert
Yes,
Johnson.
there it is, my guy. Thank you. That's one of the references I believe they tap on in Supernatural. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's prevalent, but again, these people aren't necessarily doing bad things. Like all these other blues people I'd heard about too, man, they were loved by their friends and family and such, and never did anything wrong either. So it's just very interesting, I guess. Maybe I have a depiction that's been warped, meaning when you sell your soul, you're immediately supposed to be somebody like the Dirty Stash or somebody horrific. I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, from that standpoint, as like the movie Ghost Rider. You make that deal, but you can still do the good things, although you're going to, the deal's never what it's really supposed to be. And you get the short end of the stick.
Bond, yes.
So is that short-term happiness for you worth whatever's going to happen next?
Yes, exactly. And another great depiction of that is like the Crow. Okay, same thing. He's not good nor bad, and that was more or less like he's coming back from a bad place, more or less, to do things to bad people, but he's not bad either. So it's just really interesting to, like I said, to see some of those depictions and the different points of views, man. And it's just fascinating in general because I love to learn, bro. So I love to learn all sides of history and just all sides of everything in general, man. So just to be taught things and really understand things and just see some of the interesting aspects of, why something could be considered demonic, but on another perspective, it could just be considered creativity or something.
Yeah, one of the more interesting ones that I remembered, but I didn't realize it was somebody who supposedly had made a deal, was that book of the Codex of Gygax.
Mm-hmm.
And that was written by a monk who was being threatened with punishment of being walled up inside the walls of his monastery for breaking their community guidelines, basically. And so what happened was he was the one who offered to write a book glorifying the church, but he only had one night to do it in. And have you ever heard of that codex?
Yeah, I believe that was touched on in the Thought 2 video as well. And that's what I mean about kind of like the superpower aspects. And a lot of those people, though, were questionable too, like, you know, with bad, shady backgrounds and were doing messed up stuff, you know, kind of like, again, Alexander or Alcester Crowley, etc. These people were doing bad things and were supposedly, you know, guilty of quote unquote selling your soul and such. So that would make sense, I guess, if you really did sell your soul and then you're acting like that. But then it's baffling again, like I said, if some of these other people have, why are they doing such great things still? I mean, was that part of their contract? I don't see why the crispy man or whatever would include being kind to anybody in a contract, but I could be, again, incorrect.
Well, see, and that's where the codex gets really, it falls right under that category of if it's all bad and ugly when you do it, because when midnight hit, the guy was nowhere near finishing the book. So he made a deal to be in servitude, and the devil supposedly finished the book in one night. And supposedly this book contains not only the entirety of the Bible, but letters from the early Catholic beliefs as well. And the only reference to anything bad is there's a picture in the back of it of the devil referencing who the real author is.
Yes, see, that's what I mean. That's super interesting again, right there. Yes, I'm very familiar with that now as you ruffled my brain right there. And yeah, there's just another interesting depiction. So that's just what I mean sometimes about how through one eye one thing is seen and then through somebody else's depiction something else is seen. I mean, it's just the way it is. One person could think, like I said, looking like a rock star and wearing what I think is cool, somebody else could be like, yo, that's messed up, they're demonic. But it's no different than like when I touched on with some of the potential racist things that have occurred with when people are called lizard men or Sasquatch and stuff. I mean, there is evidence supporting even, I mean, I'm a big believer in cynocephaly and Sasquatch and stuff, but there is plentiful evidence that at points in time, certain tribes were depicted as racist by other individuals. Meaning, you know, just an example for you. So before the Romans had really seen like the Vikings and stuff, here they are, you know, being pompous like they all are. They used to be clean and such. It's documented that they could smell the Vikings literally before they could even hear them coming to battle them. They just said it smelled like disgusting, filthy, dirty people. And now think when they first saw them, right? They're wearing these animal skins over their head and all that, etc. Well, I mean, it's not that far fetched to think that somebody that would consider to be maybe high up in the Roman society would look upon them as animal people and then use some sort of derogatory comment to dehumanize them. Because, I mean, even the Dirty Stash did that with the Jewish. He called them lizard people. I mean, it's very prominent to try to dehumanize your enemy to make it okay in your mind and their mind for the atrocities you're going to occur with.
Yeah, because if they're less than human, then they don't deserve the same standards and uh, gratuities and maybe even what you would call mercy,
Mm-hmm.
and just your normal farm animal compared to. Lori has this question. Can you speak about the monk's need to read? I don't know too much about that. I know that was a big thing for them to be reading hours and hours and hours, but I don't know why, whether it was just advancement of knowledge or reinforcement of beliefs. I'm not even sure what they read. What about you, Kenny? Have you ever heard anything about that?
Oh man, you're just gonna throw some more shade on me. To be quite honest with you, I have actually never heard of any of those. I do know in the depictions, the behaviors monks have and such, and documentaries and movies. But again, I'm super spiritual but not religious. I've never read one word of the Bible, so everything I've heard has always been told to me through either watching documentaries on like History Channel, people like Dennis Carroll, or anybody else that specializes in that topic, and brings up things. So when it comes to like behaviors, monks and things, I honestly don't know. I don't know if it was for, like you said, to kind of get that mental control, make you read stuff over and over again until you're basically brainwashed, or was it to reinforce something? I have no clue, my friend.
Yeah, and Standing Stones want to know if we can speak on the dogman activity in New England, but we try to save that for Kenny's main show. That's where Kenny likes to. I mean, we can talk about it anytime, obviously, that's for sure. But Kenny
Of
likes
course, of
to,
course.
keep flow to his channel. You can't blame the guy there. He's got great content over there. And probably, in his opinion, I shouldn't say your opinion. I'm not going to speak for you, but in my opinion, probably the second guy to go to besides Jody Cook on Dogman. So if you're interested in it, especially science-based evidence and not hearsay, go check him out.
Holy Christmas trees, man. I mean, thank you for that compliment right there. But I mean, to anybody out there, I mean, there are some brilliant minds. I mean, whether it's Linda Godfrey, all her information is still always going to be floating around. Rest in peace. She is the go-to along with Julie Cook. And man, my science team and everybody I work with that sits down and takes time to, add some brain power to, the mixture as to what we're trying to figure out. And they're all the things that help everything roll. So no, I totally appreciate that, man. That's a great kudos. And, obviously makes me, feel good about the work and time I put into something. But man, no, I would never grade myself in any way or compare myself to any of those people. I mean, that is kind of, I guess, like, when someone says like, hey, you're expert or something, that's cool, man. But the person that's the expert supposedly should never look at themselves as the expert and just want to learn, pull the Tom Brady, just be there in the morning still, last person to leave and hone your skills. So, man, all the beautiful minds out there and stuff, and everyone that's part of the Midnight Society, I love all them and the knowledge they help me with. So appreciate that, man.
Oh, honesty is the best policy. That's one thing on between the two shows that I'm doing and the one with you is to be honest and transparent about everything. So, if I thought you were a wanker, I'd tell you. So, yeah,
That's a funny way.
I'm not shy about that. So, somebody threw names at me that they think may have made similar things. Are there any ones that pop to you? Because somebody told me, about, I don't want to say the name, I guess, without knowing for sure, but Swifties, we'll say, apparently are very public about things going on.
With Taylor
Worship-wise.
Swift?
Somebody threw that name at me and said, yeah, Swifties are, if you look into it, they'll do it. But with some emergency issues come up, I never got the chance to look into it.
I have never heard of that, to be quite honest with you. But again, I mean, sure, things like that, I guess, if someone is successful, but she'd be another one. Where's that the bad behavior? I mean, whether people like her or not, I've had a chance to meet her before, and dude, she's super nice, and she does a lot of really nice things for people. So again, if they did do that, maybe I got the mixed, warped perspective. Shouldn't she be doing bad things and just totally being a menace and stuff? I don't know.
Oh, Swifties, Lori Gibbs. Swifties are a whole different group. So we'll put that one on the back burner.
I guess my only beef with her is, like I said, I have an autograph. Yeah, I got an autograph collection on my wall. And the only beef I have with her that almost made me replace her or turn her around is I'm a Patriots fan and Travis Kelce's a bozo. So isn't that really just like is a beef I have with her is that she's dating a Kansas City Chief, So
Yeah, well, seeing that I have to root to the Chiefs because my stepdad played for the 1970 world champs, so I at least got to give him love for that. That was before he went to Vietnam and then screwed his knees up.
I respect that. I respect
Other
that. The
ones,
Patriots.
yeah.
I'm just still a Patriots fan. I just can't.
Oh, I get it. I mean, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I hate when they go to New England in the winter. You know, that's just a guaranteed L
That's what
for
I'm
the
saying, man.
Dolphins.
It's like liking you guys, bro, as a Patriots fan. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, I don't like. I can never root. Okay, the only way, for example, I'd root for the Buffalo Bills. Yo, I'm a Patriots fan. Who likes the Bills? But really, who likes the Chiefs? So I'm tired of hearing about Mahomes this, Mahomes that. So of course, when it comes down to it, I'm going to root for the Bills. But that's a very special occasion. Besides that, I don't want Buffalo to win anything. Let's go Patriots. It's just the way I roll.
Lori Gibbs, yes. Travis and BS. I do not want to watch their love story. I want to watch football. I love the Chiefs. Remember, Joe Montana retired in the Chiefs.
She's very
That's what I love
correct, though.
about.
Yes, I'm tuning into. I mean, yes, I think Taylor Swift's cool stuff, but again, I'm watching football. I don't care about that. Like, I don't need to see her celebrate all the time. Like, your friend said that. We're not here to watch a love story. Like, yo, let's go.
Yeah, that's why I hate like during most live events. You're there, especially when you're watching on TV. Is the fact that like during a bodybuilding competition, there was one where Chris Bumstead, for anybody who's following, but this is a good example, just like when they're playing football. Superstar going to be his last show. He's on stage, he hits a pose, and then they turn the camera to the crowd. Like, we don't want to see the crowd. We don't want to see the reaction. We want to see the action on the stage, see the action on the field. If they call a timeout, that's one thing, but don't don't turn it on the crew when they're in the middle of stuff. Let's watch them celebrate. Camera crews need to get it right.
Right, exactly, my friend. Yes, I'm with you, brother. I am 100% with all y'all on that one for sure. So, but again, it's just interesting. Like I said, I mean, she is, yeah, very successful as well and such. And they're just our people, that sometimes just get this next level stuff. I mean, to me, like I said, I'm a huge Brady guy. But yeah, Brady's accomplishments and such and his money, man, there are people on like whole different light year levels of success and just everything, man. And I mean, I like to look at him as like the dude, the man. I mean, I'm like, yo, this guy's awesome. But then there's so many other people, like I said, way more money, way more equity, way more opportunities, way more success. So it's just baffling to think of that because hard work is something that we're always told, when you're growing up that, hey, hard work will get it and get you to where you want to be. And sure, we do see examples of that and such. But the big problem is, I think, that I don't know, you just get certain people that for some reason are on this next level of badassness. It's weird.
Now, do you think there may be cases of where people have hinted at it, but not actually done it, and just kind of went with it as far as making a deal and doing
Of course.
on Ed's things like you got Kiss and Alice Cooper, which I don't believe are satanic in any way, but they throw the vibes out and certain you got Ozzy Osbourne obviously and Black Sabbath. Do you think they just kind of run with it because didn't Donald
So
Trump say there's no bad
some of
publicity,
those,
just
yes.
right?
Some of those, yes. But then, Ozzy Osbourne was hanging out and had a song with Alestia or Alcester, whatever that guy's name is. So, I mean, come on. Like, if you are hanging out with that person, man, you might have some questionable aspects. But another example of that, Rob Zombie, that guy's the man. He's not demonic, dude, but because he horror movies and such and puts on a gimmick when you come out on stage. Yeah, dude. It's so cool, man, with all the gravestones and all the skeletons jamming out. That's awesome. But again, like I said, that's my perspective. To other people, oh my goodness, that's demonic. Why is that demonic? That's cool. That's creativity. Like Spawn says, where I'm from, every day is Halloween. Just because you got like a werewolf out in your yard doesn't mean you're demonic, So it's very interesting. And yeah, of course, I think some of those people are going to play into it. It's like a stigmata, man, meaning if good or bad, like if you are a bad person and you know that people think you're possessed or stuff, of course you're going to use that to your ability. But also, there could be another side of that where you might just be a really nice person. I want to make sure you're keeping your circle small and stuff. So you might be a very stoic individual. And from being looked upon as stoic, oh, they must be demonic. No sort of interaction. They are not hanging out with anybody. But has nothing to do with that. You know, that individual could be the kindest person ever. So that's what I mean about interesting perspectives of it. And of course, you're going to play into what's beneficial, man. I mean, if the dirty stash really was that, I mean, of course, he's going to make references to it. And if he wasn't, and people were just using that, of course, he's going to make references to install fear too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like Laurie Gibbs says that, it is a show, it is a play. And, Alice Cooper's stage shows are legendary for everything he's got going on. And, even back when, I think they really started when he went single, if I remember right. That was when he was able to get his creativity out there, and the stage shows really took off. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen an Alice Cooper concert.
I mean, don't get me wrong, my friend, any of y'all. That could be considered demonic, though. I'm not saying it can't be. I mean, someone that is doing that could be demonic. Okay, that doesn't mean dressing up like that is demonic. Okay, that just someone that is. I mean, look at Americans, real movie, but there have been plenty of prominent people in corporate America that have had behaviorisms like that. Okay, so now you have somebody, male or female, clean cut, really nice dressed, wealthy, proper vocabulary, proper everything, yet they're psychotically chopping people up, and that would be considered, demonic, right? Correct. So again, just because something, a perspective, well, that doesn't mean necessarily it's true. Like, there's a really cool video someone made of a bunch of skeletons dancing in the graveyard to some cool song. That's super cool, but someone could be like, what the heck? That's taking bodies that are deceased people and dancing all around and stuff. Again, just perspective, man.
Yeah, perspective, and like I said, most of it's entertainment. Like you said, for the Alice, that's my point with the Alice Cooper stage show was, it was just entertainment. You weren't only going to a concert, you were going to a theater. Every album told a story, and so did the stage show that goes with it. Laurie says, I don't think any of them practice
That's all,
Satan.
yes. And again, I mean, of course, any of those people. Exactly. They could, but yes, I'm totally in agreement with her as well. I just don't think that has to solidify that, man, because there's plenty of examples of people that seemed holier than heck. Okay, they went to church all the time and were doing terrible things to children and unaliving their family members and such. And these are people that were considered the light of something. So yes, I definitely agree that just because something is considered one-dimensional from one side as demonic, it doesn't have to be, because in other cultures, skeletons and things like the Day of the Dead, I wish I could say the proper Spanish word of that, because you're not really supposed to use that word on YouTube. Man, they celebrate those things. They dress up in pink and orange skulls and go clean off the graves of their family members and such. So that's still skulls. One perspective is going to be like, oh, what the heck? They're touching the deceased and dressing up like that. Demonic. But now, dude, they're all happy and reminiscing the times they spent with each other. So that's just what I mean about perspective. It's just so interesting and bizarre, dude.
Oh yeah, and it changes with the times. Now we got modern medicine, which would have been considered witchcraft back in the day. Or somebody recovers from a illness.
Boom, yes.
That, should have taken care of them, yet somehow they managed to just fight it off with a good immune system. All of a sudden they made a deal,
Mm-hmm. Or I show up at your house with some really awesome pink Himalayan salt and some turmeric, and I make you some awesome meat. And they're like, dude, I've never tasted this before. Bring him out back. Hang him. He's a witch.
Yeah, exactly. That. Nature's best.
Wait, don't you like the seasonings?
Which in itself is kind of funny, if you
again, yes. Mm-hmm. So that's just what I mean, man. Yes, it's very interesting stuff. So that's just why I wanted to present that, because it all does tie into, what we were speaking about with these individuals potentially, selling their souls or doing things along the lines of that. Is not many of them are considered demonic in any sort of aspects when you check their personal lives and background checks. I mean, they're not in the spotlight. I mean, all right, look at, I don't, really like to throw shade on people, but for example, Tyreek Hill, right? Horrible person. Okay. He broke his little kid's arm, beat his wife, all this stuff, right? On track record of not being a good dude. You can search that all up, man. So just because he gets a massive NFL contract and he plays for the Dolphins, you can just look up all that stuff, right? The moral of what I'm saying is when you do bad things, that type of behavior follows. You commemorate all of that. Well, when you look up, like I said, Bob Dylan and all these other people, I mean, I'm sure maybe because everyone is more sensitive these days about stuff, maybe sure something might have been, considered maybe in the shade, but I can't really find anything that would solidify any of those people to be considered like evil or demonic or anything along the lines of that. It is bizarre though, why certain people around him, for example, with Dylan, claimed he just got this miraculous talent, yet they never said he was like mean or anything, that they just said he was literally super focused on his craft, which, yeah, of course, when you want to be successful, you're super focused on your craft. I mean, Lindsey Vonn missed all our high school dances and everything to be arguably, on the best female or skier in the world until Michaela was really good too. But either way, the moral of that is Lindsey Vonn missed all those things. Dumped her boyfriends to train. Brady, same thing. Didn't hang out with girls that he had, would dump them and just focus on football. Didn't care about other stuff. And when you have that drive and you focus on something, Michael Jordan, etc., of course you're going to become excellent at it. I mean, not everybody that's excellent at something has, sold their soul. But then again, you have people, for example, what the hell's Bob Dylan talking about that? I mean, he could be trolling, but that's not really any sort of signs. He's never been a troller in his life. So why would he all of a sudden troll? And why the heck does he still talk about it? And who's he owe this contract to? What kind of intellectual man, which he seems very intelligent, very with it, the hell is he talking about? What contract, man?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what goes through their head when you're going to have some temporary fame, but the soul's supposed to be eternal. Why would you trade one for the other? That seems like kind of a raw deal no matter which way you go. Yeah, you can have $200 for an hour, but you're going to owe me $1,000 after that hour.
More or less, yeah. I used 20, to.
You're going to have 20 years of happiness, but then I'm going to take it away, and then you're going to have an eternity of brimstone and hot seats and cold showers.
That's literally how I felt, bro, when I was acting a model. I used to make that joke that, I mean, I never sold my soul. I never sat down. I don't believe in that stuff personally until someone can present this to me as actual evidence. But I'd crack jokes of being like, dude, I pretty much like sold my soul to be famous. I just ditched so many people I didn't care about, whether it was family or friends. I put like my opportunities before them. And this is back when, like I said, I've changed so much. I didn't like who I was then, but I'm just trying to give an example.
No, and then that falls right in line with people.
I would care more about the person that was running about me. I could care less, because I would have been like, you're not paying, you're not putting me on this magazine, you don't support what I do, so who are you? You're like nothing to me. But that type of perspective goes a lot with behaviorisms. And I would say that, like I said, I sold my soul because I had to sacrifice a lot to try to become famous. And I never really, I would even say, got that close to. Sure, I did some stuff for Abercrombie, Calvin Klein, and huge cars, man. I never had like sick apartments or houses, dude. I was crashing at my little brother's. I'm not even saying I was even close enough to even deserve an opportunity. I mean, I got to chill with Anna Faris on set. I wasn't in a main scene with her. I got to talk with her, and I was in toast. So I made massive amounts of sacrifices, dude. I got like the raw end of the stick. So I'd be like, yeah, I sold my soul, but the devil didn't give me crap back, dude, because like I never became famous or any of that from all the things I sacrificed. So yeah, it's very interesting now to think, like you said, again, because that's hard work right there. Sure, maybe that wasn't my path, and I'm a way better person than I am, and I'm glad, I guess, I didn't pursue down that path. So maybe was that just vibes and the universe just telling me, yo, man, you got a brain, like let's start thinking and going on a different pattern, or is that just because, well, I didn't, decide to do some little extra things, man. Meaning there was people I know that would play like the casting couch, man. Anyone can look that up, dude. But male, women, man, like people, it's not a very kind industry. I'm not about anything. Get that crap up out of here. And so because of that, though, I didn't really get maybe furtherized opportunity. I know opportunities where people tried to do that to me. I was like, yo, get out of here. But that's what I'm saying about the sacrifice aspect. So no.
Yeah. Want to thank Lori for the super sticker. Thank you very much, Lori. Greatly appreciate you. And Nat, thank you. And hello, Deborah from Facebook. To Debbie. Yeah, I wouldn't understand making a deal like that. All about fame. Lori says it's all about money and fame. Seriously. It's like, man, I don't know. I value my whatever comes next a little more than whatever is right now. The not only that, but being famous is just kind of wouldn't be a pain in itself. You got paparazzis and everybody. You talk about.
Hey, Brian, I see you talking, man, but I can hear you.
Oh,
anybody else hear me? Am I still here?
The mic's been breaking up quite a bit. Hopefully you're there. Uh-oh. I think we lost Kenny. Oh no, they unalive Kenny. You bastards. Hopefully he comes back here. Oh, and disappeared like a thief in the night. So has anybody else heard about, maybe some incidents where people have done some things that they shouldn't have to make maybe just proverbial devil? How's that? Run with the proverbial devil for a minute. Maybe people who took loans from the wrong people. There he is. Maybe.
There we go.
There we go. So I just hit on a little bit. What about maybe people, could some of this be proverbial? Where maybe they got some money from some heavy hitters and, to get their fame, get their start. Technically, say making a deal with the devil, but at the same time, it was just wrong people with the right cash and the right connections.
Interesting question, man. And to be quite honest with you, I don't feel like I have really a quality answer for you there or anything really quality to bring for a response to that because, again, I just think it really all falls into depictions, meaning, I mean, you could have a mob member that has done crazy stuff and then, passes along money and, that he's got from stealing from other people and chopping people's body parts up, etc. I don't think that person sold his soul to become, who he is. So when that person comes up and presents a crap ton of money and then holds some sort of weaponry by the side of your head and tells you that he specializes in disintegrating bodies, etc. Well, if he quote unquote would have sold his soul, that kind of contract would make you do all that to become famous when you could just become famous and rich. Why are you doing all that stuff? But yet, like so and so, the El Diablo or whatever, and they give you that money. But again, that has nothing to do with like sitting here and cultivating and getting this money just to appear, man. That was money that was already there that you learned from people and just stole from people and such. So that's just what I mean about like the perspective aspect of it. But it is really interesting, dude.
Yeah, because from perspective, with all the news coming out about WWE right now, some of these high-powered wrestlers had a high price to pay in order to get there to Mr. McMahon. All the allegations that are, and this is all public knowledge. This is nothing I'm making up. With the trafficking of kids and a whole bunch of hush money going out, and
that's where the Cub Scouts too, bro. All that stuff, man. Yep.
So, proverbially, if I said that right, kind of sold out who you are in order to get a chance to be who you want to be. And now we're finding out even.
There's a great example too. Right. So same thing with him, okay? Same thing.
Yeah.
Did he sell his soul to become famous? Well, I don't think so, because his dad and stuff already had all this money, man. It was all handed to him. Now, does he go out and do terrible behavior just because he felt like he could and that no one could stop him, or possessed? Again, personally, I think it's because he thought he could do whatever he wants to. And again, his family already had money, inherited that all. So I don't think he sold his soul because he would have gained that success either. Or interesting, though.
Yeah. Michelle, Wiflong said she saw it on Netflix. I haven't had a chance to see that yet. I do want to see it because I remember, stories back in the day where they would talk about some of the things that would happen to ring boys and, Vince McMahon not giving people airtime because of wanting different favors from them that they weren't necessarily willing to go along with. And the ones that did wind up with the point where they actually have, psychological issues, and, a couple of them even left the world a little early due to it. So,
yeah, that's what I mean about facts, dude. Like, again, I'm a facts-based individual, and everything you stated is all there in black and white, man. So again, I just treat that with anything. So same thing. It's hard to refute any of that stuff, and anyone that tries to refute that, it's all written right there and such. So that's just what I try to do with anything, man. Anything I make my opinions on, which everyone's allowed to have different opinions, I never enunciate mine until I'm asked and such. But I form my opinions based off of things that logically are going to make sense until I can be, steered or presented stuff that logically makes sense to have me think in another direction. And it's just the way I handle everything in life. Just because an acorn, drops outside on the roof doesn't mean it's happening. Just because you find, what you think is a larger canine footprint in the snow. Well, snow melts and water and moisture contrast. That's just either a canine or a coyote. That's not a dog, man. And it is what it is, So until I can have the same brilliant minds that tell me that's not a dog, man, and show me reasons why, sit down and tell me, well, why that would be, it just is what it is, man. So if people, want me as a scientific mind and want my science to to sit down and put effort into something, I always make sure there's something that's substantial to it. Again, I don't know. I can't prove or disprove. Do portals exist? No clue, man. Never seen one myself. I've never seen anything paranormal. I know that there's millions and trillions of people that have never seen anything like that. No clue even what it is. But then you have other people that claim that they see it and deal with it. Interesting stuff for sure, like I said. But from every aspect of science and such. There's nothing that can prove that. I mean, I know my Chromebook is real because right now I'm talking to you as I'm watching the Bruins game and I'm holding it. You know, I know my foot's real because I'm touching it, and I know dinosaurs existed because I see the tracks, the bones, and all this amazing stuff. You know, I know my iPhone's real because hey, wait, it's in my hand and I can look up Apple on the back and see who Steve Jobs is and such. So, moral of all that is with I approach, that's just how I look at it. Does what's being presented to me in my own mind and others, would that stand up? Meaning, I use this all the time. If you and I got in a car accident, you say I tried to speed by you, I say you slammed on your brakes. Okay, well, the police officer shows up, sees the damage on both cars, here's the story. We go to court, whatever. You don't have the evidence to support what you. Well, the camera down the street shows what I said actually happens, not what you said. I win the case. Why? Because I had evidence to support that. So that's just how I approach everything, man.
Yeah, and I do my best to be fact based, but then and I also like keep an open mind. Um, as far as just because I didn't see it, it's not possible. I've never seen the Titanic, but we know it's there. And like you said, the iPhone's in your hand, and you know, as far as Bigfoot actually cloaking, you I think it's more the translucent hair, things like that. And then what was it? Lori just put up. Yeah, like the problem with these money and power people now, the proverbial physical evil ones, they just tie it up in court, or they make your life miserable with better attorneys and NDAs and all kinds of stuff. So if you can't afford to expose them, then they just keep going. Are you
Yeah,
with me?
totally bizarre stuff, man, for sure. And yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm here. I'm listening. Yeah, totally bizarre stuff for sure. Yet, like I said, I just try to always look at it from a perspective that just makes sense and what backs it up. And it doesn't mean something else, couldn't occur, but until proven different, that would be an example. If someone tries to tell me that sharks are now made out of bone and not cartilage, well, I know their teeth are, but no, as far as I know, and everything that scientifically showed to me, it's cartilage. I've seen the supposed skeletons myself and held on to them. That's cartilage. So if someone's going to tell me now that it's made out of bone, they have to have things and quality evidence and scientific data and information for me to change my opinion on that.
Yeah. And like you said, a lot of it's perspective. So, coming back around to what we started with, in some people's perspective, it's a supernatural thing, but in other people's perspective, Vince McMahon might be the devil, and look at all the wrestlers who quote unquote sold their soul. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Benoit is the name. He's the one that really paid the ultimate price. And because if you didn't perform nightly and 2 and 3 times a night, you lost your quote unquote spot. Next thing you knew, you were jobbing with a broom or doing some crazy thing. And, when Benoit started missing time because of injuries, they downgraded him, moved him to a different programming, and kind of took him out of the spotlight. And then what happened, I don't know if people know the whole story about Benoit, but he had taken so many concussions that his brain was that of an 80-year-old man with Alzheimer's disease. And he was in his early 40s. And then what wound up happening was he began to think people were following him. He had, I believe it was 18 different ways to the airport. He twisted. And then he also were taking weird precautions as far as mood swings and family safety. And then one night he didn't show up for a wrestling event and was texting. And in a 2-night period, he had unalived his wife and unalived his son, and then unalived himself in his wrestling gear. And all of this started because he had to perform while injured, which is where the concussion protocols have come in, not only in WWE, but the NFL. All started stemming from that incident where they started taking concussion seriously. So he kind of, and he went out doing bad things.
Yeah, some pretty interesting stuff, man, for sure. And that's another thing that, I mean, hey, I believe any adult, they know what they involved in sports and stuff. And you can talk to anybody, even like Tom Brady, for example. He said it. He knows the risks of brain trauma and stuff. But would he change anything? Heck no. He'd be out there playing football again. So, yes, the information's out there, man. And I do believe that, of course. It's a traumatic sports, man. They're contact, dude. I mean, we're talking about new age gladiators that at least get paid and get great treatment. Okay. I mean, anyone that goes out there and plays is aware of that. And if they're not, then the information's there and make your own decision, like Tua Tungaloa. Okay. Same thing. He's made his decision. You don't think he's been informed about the fact of so many consistent concussions and all of this such? Of course he has. But guess what? I mean, that's at the end of the day, the sport you're in. And, when you're a fighter or a warrior or a hockey player, man, comes with the territory. So, but again, though, that kind of ties into the aspect of hallucinations and such. I mean, when you have traumatic injuries like that in their brain, I mean, who knows? Did Benoit just do that? Or did he all of a sudden have a psychotic break where he thought they were other people that weren't who they were? And then when he snapped out of it, he realized he had just unalived his whole family, which doesn't mean that's okay by any means. And then he unalives himself. I mean, I saw something like that recently on a police show that this guy was definitely, I can't remember what exactly he had. He didn't even remember that he had cut up his wife and his caretaker and that left the body all downstairs, and she had like snapped, man, and just stabbed her. And then when everyone presented it to him and he saw the blood everywhere and he came back out of his lapse, he completely broke down, realizing what he had just done. So not saying that he wasn't a screwed up person to even do that, but again, I guess if something's having a psychotic break, it's not truly you. So you could be attacking me, but if I'm having a psychotic break, then you could be some crazy zombie thing that's attacking me and I start stabbing you and such. I don't know. Interesting, man.
Yeah. Again, for every price, is it too high or is it not for fame? That's what you got to get, every bang for every buck. So on that, we should probably call it a night, don't you think? Unless anybody's got any questions for us. Interesting topic for sure. Especially when you put both aspects into it, you put the scientific aspect into it. Where did this stuff originate? How did it, it's still the whole Bob Dylan thing. I never, 30 days is just amazes me. So
that's what I'm talking about. Stuff. I never try to sway people's opinions about things. And when I'm stating something, again, I might have my opinion about something, meaning I could think something is this, but I'm just stating examples and facts that, are presented and about how perspective is a real thing. I mean, on pretty much a final note, anyone out there, when you read a history book, it's from the perspective of the winner. Okay. Cultures that conquer other cultures could care less about your history and such. Get out of here. You're now ours. Unless you're the Romans that had this love affair with the Greeks, meaning they loved everything about Greece, but then still wanted to overthrow them, but then allowed Greece to still be Greece. And Athens was, yeah, still your home, but we're Rome now. So besides them, because they literally took their whole culture off of the Greeks, everybody else just takes in, doesn't care about that. So when you get the perspective of victories and such,
you're going to see the side of the victor. Okay. I encourage anyone, read some history books from European times and then read American history books. You're going to see differences, man. And sure, both sides have valuable information and such, but that's just what I mean about perspective. Okay. Because to one side, if you see somebody outside that in their culture, they, for example, maybe remove the heart of something they've hunted. Because earlier today on a podcast, we were talking about this, but then somebody else comes around the corner and somebody eating the heart out of this deer. Well, in their culture, that's, respecting the animal. To the other person, they're like, what the fudge, dude? This mother trucker is sitting there eating like deer heart. You savage, you, etc. And that's just what I mean about perspective. One side thinks that person's a lunatic and uncivilized and a savage, but then the other side is thinking that this is respectful and valuing what is presented. So are they psychotic and demonic for eating the heart, or are they just representing, believing and using every part of the animal? Again, perspective.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. A lot of the times you have to turn around and multiple perspectives in order to get to the real truth. So, all right, my friend, as Grizzly would say, from coast to coast, around the world, everybody have a good night. And I pray the Bruins pull this out somehow for you, my friend. And we will talk to you very soon.
41 seconds left, man. Don't jinx it.
All right. Good luck, Kenny. Have a good night.
All right, my friend. Much love. You too, bro. I'll see you soon.